Okay, I just got my Tensile Flite Tree Tent. This is supposedly for 2 people. This is an unboxing video. I just got this. I haven't opened it up yet. I'm gonna have to go find some trees that are suitable, but figured I'd see if there were some instructions to tell me what sort of distances I need to deal with. I did weigh this whole package as it came. I don't know if there's anything in here I can remove, but it's 10.6 pounds. Probably not a backpacking thing, but I do a lot of kayaking and I like to kayak camp, so that could be a thing. Alright, I'm back. The stakes. These are, I believe these are tree protectors, so technically, unless you got some sensitive trees, might not need these. I think that's what they are. There's 3 of them. We used 3 trees to set this up, so that's what I think those are. Anyway, then, by the way, the only thing I can find on how far apart the trees should be is I found the setup size to be 11 by 11 by 9. So I picked some trees that were about 15 feet apart, so I have plenty of room. Should be able to set it up that way. Okay, so these are the straps and the winch. Okay, so these are the poles. We got poles for this thing. This is a tent with a bug net and a rain cover. Another strap. This could explain some of this. Let's see. Still don't know. There are instructions in the bag for setting it up. So the straps are spread out among 2 different bags, which is kind of weird. I think that's kind of weird. Oh wait, instructions. Hold on. I'll be back. I did find in the instructions it does say how far apart. The minimum distance for the trees is oh shoot, now I forgot the minimum distance. It's not very far. It's like 12 by 12, but the maximum distance is close to 30 feet. So you can have trees spread apart pretty far. My trees are 15 and 18. They have to be in a pretty decent triangle though, because they say the straps have to line up at a certain angle. So you probably gonna have to find trees that are pretty. Can you even see me? Hello. Just don't know if I need something to keep that there. So it stays there. All good. That's strap number 1. That would be for me. That would be a front strap. Just coming back from this other tree, I do believe there are some extra parts with this tent, so you can make it a little bit lighter. And the specifications say it does not weigh 10.6 pounds, so it says 9.5. Alright, so then we have the strap for the winch. I don't know if this is any different. Oh yeah, I guess it would be. So this one has a loop, which is kind of weird why the other ones don't have a loop. Put that. There we go. Let's get the tent out, lay it out, see how we do here. One piece we haven't, well, it's 2 pieces we haven't taken out. We haven't taken out the tent or the rain fly. Should be a rain fly. Yeah, there's still a rain fly in there. So the strap holding the tent together. Alright, so here's the body of it. We have an underside gear hanger. We have a strap down the center that divides the tent into 2 sections, so it's a two-person sleeper. I guess I want to be like this. So we want the front to be where the winch is, which I've got here, and then the tail is supposed to go through here. Pull this up, obviously. Now we're gonna come. Okay, they got instructions for how the trees have to line up. Because instructions say I'm supposed to sight from this sight line through the D-ring on the other side into the tree to get an idea of how the angle is supposed to be. And I didn't want to tighten anything up, at least until I had some idea of where I was going to need to be. When I pull this up from this end, I think it's going to be pretty close. So the way they tell me to do this is they tell me to come up, to go around back underneath, to pull a loop through, and then to pull the loop through here. Call that a half Windsor. Now if I go back to my sight line, pretty close on that one. The other one should be about the same. Now keep in mind, this is my first time setting this up. If you're gonna take my advice on how to set it up, you might want to wait until I've set it up a couple of times. And I'm definitely taking my time doing this. So that's obviously the short ones. There's a long one and a short one, and they are clearly, it's pretty clear which is which here. So we need to take the long one and thread it through longitudinally from the center of the front to the tail. Place the pole goes into on this end, so we'll just go ahead and put that in. And we'll go ahead and push this up. It's pretty similar to how you do any other tent, I guess. Go ahead, put it in the front one, and then we have the short side one, which obviously goes through here. This is a little different. I guess it has to go over the top. It can't go underneath, so there's the only way that can go. Let's go ahead and put it into its little feet. These are stretchy, so it's pretty easy. Yeah, the instructions are pretty clear about how this winch goes in, so let's go ahead and undo this. They say to make sure it's not twisted and just pull it through far enough that you can thread the winch through the loop. So we're just making a lark's head. So now this is the interesting thing, because when they tell you you're putting the winch on, right, you're supposed to pull this tight and then winch it, right? Well, they tell you to do this before you put the poles in, and then they tell you to put the poles in before you raise the tent. So you can't do things in the order that the instructions say. I'm not sure if the way I'm doing it is perfect or not, but really good. Now I don't have the other side really secured yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pull this up semi-tight and give it a couple turns. I may have to come back and do that all over again. So anyway, I'm going to start from scratch here. So you're going to basically you can do this from the top, or I think the instructions are like this. So you could do like this. Doesn't really matter because you can just twist it around. And then you're going to go around the bottom one, and you're going to come back out underneath this one. So you're just creating something that's going to keep it from... Anyway, that makes it easier to tension the tent. I think you could get by without this if you're good with knots. I do. But as I raise this thing, I want to keep an eye on my sight lines. I kind of want to raise it a little on each side, but let me just see if I can afford to. So this sight line is beautiful. This sight line is also pretty close. So I think if I raise these two evenly, it should end up pretty much where we want to be. I'm going to go back to my winch and go ahead and I'm just going to release the tension from this, unlock it so I can pull it. Now I'm going to pull it up tight. So anyway, we pull this up tight. I don't know if you can even see that. It might have gone off screen. You pull it up tight before you start winching the winch. And then you give the winch a few turns to get it wrapped around the spool. You don't want to according to the instructions, we don't want to over tension it. This is probably really hard for you to see, but here's the sight line tag, and the corner of the tent and the tree are basically all in line or pretty close on this sight line. So I think at this point we're pretty successful in getting it in the right spot. I don't know if it's as tight as it should be, and I can still tighten it a little bit with the winch. They don't really tell you how to determine when it's tight enough. So I do tell you to do this, 5 or 6 times or 7 or 9 times or something, but I don't know if that's a very good way to tell. I think it's not quite level, but first time, right? Gotta try this. All right, so we're gonna get in this thing before we put the rain fly on it, just to see how that's gonna work. I set this up probably a little higher than it's recommended to be, but I kind of like to, be off the ground a little ways. So here we are. I'm on the side I got in on, and there's a, can't really see it, hold on. I'm in here on one side, and this is divided down the center by a strap. I think you can kind of see this. And this strap can be tightened or loosened, so you can make this into a single person hammock style tree tent, or you can have it be a 2-person hammock style tree tent. I actually kind of like the idea of sleeping on one side and having a place to put my clothes or other items over here. Obviously things that aren't sharp are going to damage it, but so the other side seems to be a little bit lower. It's just probably the way I'm laying in it, but so this would be for another person. Now your feet go into the tight triangle ends, so you don't have a lot of room for your feet in this. I think it'd be pretty comfortable for sleeping. Get the rain fly out of the bag. This rain fly is not light. This is at least a pound. It's possible that you could also cut down some weight on this by just replacing this rain fly, which, I don't want to knock, it's a really good quality. It's got a clear polyurethane layer on it. It clearly has a polyurethane layer on it. It's probably extremely waterproof. However, if you didn't need this, I want to say fancy, super waterproof custom rain fly, you could just put a tarp over the top of your, just string it over the top, and probably have something a lot lighter weight-wise. And you'd have more visibility, because when you put this on, you're going to be in a cocoon in there. Logo is at the tail end, and that's where we're supposed to start. So we'll start over here by threading this thing onto the strap. So we've attached the tail end. Now we're going to try to throw this over. Like all things new, every tent I've ever bought, I tend to have a little bit of a learning curve with setting it up. So this may go smoothly, it may not, but it'll probably get easier over time. I'm just going to go ahead and, I'm not even going to get carried away with this because I want to get the other one. So this one I'm actually doing the wrap thing because I'm pretty sure we're not going to lose it now. So I'm just going to wrap these tight around the strap. The instructions say go ahead and hook them together. Okay, then I'm going to go around and go back to this one and do the same thing because it's not done yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap those. So the last thing we have for the rain flies, we have tie-out points to hold it tight. Okay, so I did something. First I want to add that the instructions say that there's loops on these bungee cords. There are not. They're just straight bungee cords. But so you have to tie knots. You can't get away without tying knots. But what I did on the front of the thing, because they've got this bungee cord that's hanging off the front with nothing in the instructions of what to do with it, you only have 4 stakes and there's 4 side connectors, so you'd be short a stake if you use a stake for this. But what I did was I ran the extra strap that I had, because there's lots of extra strap, around the trees on either side, and just brought it together and tied a bowline in one of them, and then I looped the other one through it and tighten it up a little bit. And I use that because it's out in front a little bit to tie this bungee cord to on the rainfly. The instructions say that you've got a loop on one end of this bungee, but you do not. So what I did was on the other one is, since the bungees are kind of long, I just went ahead and doubled up the bungee. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and tie this while it's loose. Just put a square knot in that thing. That should hold it. Stretch it out, hook it onto here. So now the rainfly is completely secure. I'm not sure. I guess you can get in by ducking under the rainfly. We're now under the rainfly, because if you're going to get in this thing, you gotta get under the rainfly, and this might be why they've got the clips or the hooks over here on the rainfly, so you can unhook the bungee, maybe to make it easier to get in and out. Then of course you're going to have to figure out how to hook it again from inside. But anyway, I'm just going to unzip this so we can get inside here. And I guess with the rainfly on, you would just climb in under the rainfly. It's going to make getting in and out a little bit harder, but definitely not too difficult. And there's one other thing I want to mention about this rainfly. Because of the shape of the rainfly and the fact that it attaches to the three corners, if you don't have your corners in exactly the right spot, they say the sight lines you can be off by 5 to 7 degrees, but the rainfly needs to be just about exact. When I was pulling the corners of the rainfly over, I noticed that it, if you're going to pull it tight, that it expects a specific shape for the tent and a specific direction for the straps to be going in, because you're tying it out further out on the straps. According to instructions, you're supposed to go out 6 centimeters from the corner, and apparently that's important because that keeps the rain from coming into the corner of your tree tent. So if you don't have the rainfly out beyond the corner, then you're possibly going to have that corner out there scooping rain in, and then you're going to get soaking wet. Alright, we're on the inside now, and I know this video is getting really long, but this is what you have. You have little, you see in the corner over there, there's a little cargo net that you can put things in the corner. You've got several hangers above where you can hang things. You've got loops on the strap. It's right in the center of the video right now, that black strap. There's loops. 3 loops on that one, and then on the other side it's the same thing. There's 3 loops on the other side too. And there's a spare cargo net that comes with it. That's what I have hanging on the loops there. That's just an extra one. And there's another one in the corner, in the other corner. So you got 3 cargo nets, several places to hang things. It's pretty, you could get pretty comfy in here. It's a small space compared to a tent, but it definitely has lots of features to let you make a good use of the space. A couple things to note about today's setup is that I am going to try a couple things. Well, one thing is the trees that I have here are not as perfect as the ones I had in my backyard. So I'm going to see how forgiving this thing is if your trees aren't in a perfect triangle. But the other thing I want to try today is I want to try not using the winch. I want to see if I can use my superior rigging skills to get this thing tight enough without having to use the winch, because if I don't have to use the winch and the other tightener, that knocks a couple pounds off the weight of the whole system. And really, the weight is mostly in the winches and the long straps. So if I ever decided I probably didn't need this much strap, I could probably cut down some weight by either getting shorter straps or cutting these off. I hate to cut them off. I'm terrible about cutting anything, but you could always just find some shorter straps. So see, I've done this twice around the tree, which makes it, when you cinch it down, it really like stays put, which is nice for when you're setting stuff up. One of these straps out of 3 has a loop sewn in the end instead of having a metal D-ring. And if I were to replace the straps with shorter ones, I could sew loops into all of them, which would also save a little bit of weight, because I'm not sure why the D-rings are necessary when everything else I've ever set up just has a loop sewn into the end of the strap. It's the only second time I've set it up, but from what I've discovered so far, the trick is getting the trees in the perfect triangular orientation. So since these aren't perfect, I'm going to find out how bad this is. Like I said, I'm not using the, there would be a tightener that goes here, and the winch, well, the winch goes here, one or the other, and the winch will go over there. I am just going to, and all this is temporary right now, I just got to get the positioning of the tent first. This is how I did it when I first set it up too. I just kind of got everything tentatively rigged so I could see how it was going to lay out. Because there are some adjustments, obviously there's adjustments to be made, shortening and lengthening straps to get the straps at the right angles. This one here. Now this one I could actually do according to the instructions, because it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so we're going to bring this one up to where those ones have an angle on them. I'm just going to do that one temporarily too, because there's a sight angle on here to get these right, and kind of that one needs to be sort of adjusted according to that. Just going to see that we're pretty close on that. So I guess I'm going to finish this off with that. But before we pull it up, let's go ahead and put the poles in. They say it's easier to put the poles in while it's on the ground. Not sure if that's true or not, but no big deal. Thread this pole through the sleeve, and that goes very easily. I've got one tent where you have to do it through multiple places, and it can be a little tricky. This one's very easy. You can give it that. And then we'll just go ahead and raise the tent like you would any dome style tent. I don't know if this is easier to do while it's on the ground or not. I will say there's some this one. There's two things, so it's not quite as quick. Alright. There. These little poochy things. Switch it out. Alright, that's it. So the poles are in. Now I guess we can raise it up a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to go around and raise this tent because we got to get it up to level here. I'm going to raise it a little bit at a time to kind of make sure everything stays in proper alignment. Okay, now that those are up a little bit more, I'm just double checking the sight lines on my straps. So you see this sight line tag here. It's supposed to line up with the D-ring and the angle of the strap on the other side, and so we're pretty close. So when checking the angles, there's one more thing to check, and that's to see that this center line of the tent actually lines up with that strap back there. And right now, it's a little bit this way, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one up some more. Alright, I'm having a hard time getting this to just the right angle so that the whole tent stretches out the way it's supposed to. I'm not done yet, I haven't tightened anything up yet, but you can see it's coming together in kind of a twisted fashion, and it's not gonna you know, the whole tent is not going to work right if it's not straight. I'm beginning to think that this tent is, there's no way I could set this up in the dark or in the rain. It takes too long to get it adjusted. It's too finicky. Yeah, I think I managed to get this fairly straight. The center line is not quite perfect, but the sight lines on the two side straps are very good. Now my next challenge, I've got it pretty much, you know, almost tight. I'm not using the winch, so I've got to get it really tight without the winch, and that's the next thing I am going to attempt to do. Okay, so that knot's out. Of course, the whole thing is going to fall now. And I'm just going to go ahead and do, I could go back around the tree, but in the event that I didn't have a ton of extra strap, I might not be able to do that. So let's go ahead and do a trucker's hitch here. This is still kind of under pressure. I'm still holding the tent up. I'm going to run this through the trucker's hitch and then pull that up. So I've got a little bit of rigging advantage here, and I just need to get this really tight because, you know, like I said, I'm not using the winch. I'll just see if I can get it tight enough and then tie it off without losing any ground. It'd be better to go back through here because I can get a little bit more advantage. And I guess I'll go through my hitch again. Now I know this would all be easier with the winch, but that winch is at least a pound. And then the other side has another metal piece for tightening, and that's close to another pound. So this depends on how far I'm carrying this thing. Anyway, all I need now is a simple knot because I've got enough loops around that thing. It's not going to go anywhere. Just want to do that without losing any of your tension. Throw another knot on there for good measure. And let's see if we got enough tension on that to actually use it. I put this up pretty high. I did that intentionally because I thought it'd be fun to go a little higher. The question is, can I actually get into it? Maybe I should take my knife off before I do that. Take my phone out of my pocket. And obviously don't want to tear the tent up before I've even had a chance to sleep in it. That'd be crazy. I have not slept in this yet. That, I think, is going to be the deciding factor of whether I'm willing to deal with all this bullshit. Because if this thing sleeps really well, and I really love it, then I might keep it. Well, I'm going to keep it, because I keep everything, but I don't know if I'll ever use it. Alright, so here we are. I think the tension is as good as I had it with the winch. I set it up the first time. Just go ahead and zip myself in here. It's pretty tight, I think. So here I am. You see me?